Today, in the world of cannabis, the government of Japan issues a warning against cannabis use to Japanese citizens living in, working in, or visiting New York. As multiple U.S. states have legalized recreational cannabis in recent days, several others could be next in line, and medical cannabis advocates in the nation of Thailand push for more representation in the industry for local farmers as opposed to large corporations. It's Tuesday, April 13th, and this is your TRICHOMES Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the TRICHOMES.com studios in Southern California, it's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, though New York has become the 15th state in the U.S. to legalize recreational cannabis, Japanese citizens residing in New York might be hesitant to partake because of policies enacted across the globe. The Japanese Consulate General in New York published a notice just hours after the bill was signed, saying that Japanese citizens and visitors who consume cannabis while in New York might still face penalties under Japan's cannabis prohibition statute. Never touch cannabis, even if it's legal in the country or region you're currently visiting or living in, reads the official notice. Despite the fact that Japan's cannabis prohibition policies do not forbid smoking, possession of the substance may result in a sentence of up to 5 years in prison. Despite the low percentage of consumers, the nation is notorious for having some of the strictest cannabis regulations. So what are Japanese citizens living in New York saying? I've been smoking weed for like 5 years now, and I think it's a little bit too late to warn me, Rue Matsui, a Japanese citizen and college student, told Vice World News. I understand there is a culture difference between the U.S. and Japan, he said.
Next up, following the recent legalization of recreational cannabis in New York, Virginia, and New Mexico, a handful of more states in the U.S. have entered the spotlight as potentially the next to follow suit in implementing cannabis policy reform. The Connecticut legislature is considering 2 legalization bills, one of which is sponsored by Governor Ned Lamont. If legislators refuse to approve a cannabis legalization plan, Lamont believes citizens can decide the issue through a ballot vote. According to a recent survey, 66% of Connecticut residents support legalization, with the same number supporting the expungement of previous cannabis convictions. In Delaware last month, a House panel approved a measure to permit cannabis use for adults in the state. A measure to legalize cannabis in Minnesota has already passed 4 House panels. The bill's sponsor, Majority Leader Ryan Winkler, noted last week that it would advance to the next committee steps by the end of April, paving the way for full chamber consideration in May. And in Rhode Island, a joint meeting was conducted this month by 2 state Senate panels on 2 cannabis legalization bills, one of which was introduced by Governor Daniel Mickey.
And last up, cannabis advocates in the nation of Thailand are calling for small and local cannabis cultivators to be included in the country's medical cannabis industry. The push is being led by Aram Limsakul, one of Thailand's most influential cannabis advocates, and highlights the rift between the nation's government, the commercialized cannabis industry, and local Saga City and Insight. As the government legalizes cannabis for medical and industrial use, Aram is one of the thousands of local, independent farmers across the country seeking further acknowledgement. License obtainees may cultivate and sell products derived from cannabis roots, stems, and leaves, as well as export hemp goods that contain almost no concentration of THC. Independent farmers who are not able to receive licenses or contend with companies are effectively excluded from the system. The possession and consumption of medical cannabis remains under strict control by the Thailand government. Government-authorized cultivators are required to supply goods to a contracting agency or corporation. Before it's fully consumed by companies vying for control of the multi-billion-dollar cannabis market, Aram is on a quest to bring underground cannabis farmers into the legal system, allowing them to participate and gain a legal slice of the emerging industry.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit TRICHOMES.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Careers in Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation wherever you get your podcast. For TRICHOMES.com, I'm David Fortin.
And I'm Devin Liao. Have a great day.